Hey there, this is Matt DiDonato with Prospero Equipment Corporation. We are a New York-based winery equipment supplier, and today I will be going over crush pad equipment needs for a new startup winery in Ohio. This discussion is mainly focused on wineries over 5,000 gallons per year, which is 2,000 cases per year. So many of these machines on this talk will be more in the commercial range. In another discussion, I will review a smaller winery crush pad setup for under 5,000 gallons per year. A few quick notes. All the equipment I talk about today is European-made equipment. Prospero is the North American distributor for the items I will speak about today. Power requirements. All the equipment I will talk about will run on 220-volt power. Most of the items are built in three-phase 220-volt power, but upon request, some of the items are available in 220-volt single-phase power. Since many smaller farm wineries do not have 220-volt three-phase power, in some cases a phase converter may be necessary to operate the machines, depending on the equipment selection. Prospero can assist with sourcing a proper phase converter if necessary. De-stemmer crushers. So today we are going to start off with the heart of the crush pad, which is the de-stemmer crusher. For any startup wineries harvesting grapes in-house besides the wine press, the de-stemmer crusher is one of the main items required to process wine grapes. For the purpose of this discussion, we will focus on two models. Prospero does offer larger units, but this is usually for a much larger winery, and we do offer smaller units, which will be discussed on another presentation for wineries under 5,000 gallons per year. For the purpose of this discussion, I would say 80 to 85% of the commercial wineries will be in these two model ranges. So the two models we will discuss are the Lugano 1R model shown here, and the Lugano 2R model, which looks similar, but just a faster speed. Speed range for the Lugano 1R is 4 to 6 tons per hour, and the Lugano 2R model is 7 to 9 tons per hour. So how do these units operate? Wine grapes get fed into the feed and auger hopper on top and passed down into the de-stemmer cage. The auger on top ensures a uniform flow of grapes into the unit. Inside the de-stemmer cage are food-grade solid rubber-tip paddles that apply a gentle beading mechanism to beat the grapes off the stems without shearing or damaging the actual grape. On this slide here, we can see the de-stemmer cage and the rubber-tip paddles. The de-stemmer cages can be custom ordered to accommodate large and small grape berries. So many wineries will have a few different size cages on site for processing. For smaller wine grapes, a smaller cage can be used to reduce the amount of jacks. Jacks are the little bits of stem that hold the berries to the main stalk. Some of these jacks fall through the cages. You ideally want to have the correct size cage in the unit to reduce this. For larger size grapes, a medium to larger size cage may be used. General ranges for de-stemmer cage hole sizes are anywhere from the 18mm up to 26mm diameter hole sizes. These holes are the holes you see here on the cage. The machine comes standard with a 24mm cage. If desired, the cages can be ordered in a food-grade plastic material instead of stainless steel, which will provide an even gentler processing of the wine grapes. As the grapes pass through the cage, the stems are fed out the back of the unit into a trash bin. The wine grapes pass down through the de-stemmer cage holes and into the crush and rollers, which are shown here. The crush and rollers are adjustable and up to the winemaker how much they want to crush the grapes. In most cases, the winemaker will normally slightly crack the grape and not cause too much damage to the skin or the seeds inside. If desired, the crush rollers can be completely bypassed. One of the reasons for bypassing the rollers is if the winemaker wants to add some additional post-sorting, which we will talk about later. Speed adjustments. Each machine's base model will come with a mechanical speed knob to adjust the flow to give some control over the speed. As an option, we have an ability to add a frequency drive speed variator, which will allow for greater speed control, giving the winery the ability to run much slower speeds to accommodate any pre-sorting systems or post-sorting systems. This speed variator is essentially a potentiometer dial switch to turn up or down the dial as needed to have greater speed control. This option is highly recommended, especially if there are any future plans for any pre or post sorting of the wine grapes. As you can see in this picture here, the units are very easy to open and clean as well. The de-stemmer cage, paddle, and crushing rollers all come apart easily. The unit can be cleaned and put back together in approximately 15 to 20 minutes. There are a few ways to feed the wine grapes into these units. You can get a basic floor model as shown here. This unit is on wheels and low to the ground, so a person can easily hand feed 36-pound lugs into the unit, or a person with a pitchfork can feed grapes from a macro bin. Another option is to get something like this here. This unit is on an adjustable leg stand option, so you can raise the unit up or lower the unit down. It has bolt notches here on the legs, so you can raise it up or down with a forklift by removing the 4 bolts and adjusting the height. Now you can operate this unit as a standard floor model by lowering it down or you can raise it up, giving you the ability to discharge onto a post-sorting table or into a macro bin. On the infeed, you can now use a grape elevator for ease of feed-in. You can simply dump a half-ton macro bin into a grape elevator or on the floor, and it will lift the fruit into the crusher destemmer automatically. This will save manual labor and time. Here is a picture of what this process looks like. Wine grapes would get dumped into the elevator and then go through the destemmer crusher. On the outfeed, after the grapes are crushed, there are a few options to pump out or transfer the wine grapes. With the adjustable legs, you may now place a macro bin underneath the unit. This will allow you to ferment the wine grapes in macro bins, or if fermented in stainless steel tanks, you could possibly take the macro bin and dump it into your stainless steel fermentation tanks, if your forklift allows side tipping, avoiding the must pump completely. This would allow for more of a gravity flow process, avoiding any pumps. The other options would be to use a must pump, which we will cover in the next section, or to add a post-sorting table like in this picture, which will be covered shortly. Destemmer crusher recap. Smaller units and larger units available, but the majority of wineries are in these two model ranges. Lugano 1R, 4 to 6 tons per hour, Lugano 2R, 7 to 9 tons per hour. Each machine is recommended with a frequency drive speed variator for controlling the speed, for pre and or post-sorting for future crush pad additions. Machines are gentle on the fruit with food-grade adjustable crush and rollers, plastic cages, and rubber-tipped destemmer paddles. Different size destemmer cages available to help sort out stems and jacks from 18mm up to 26mm. The adjustable leg stand gives you the versatility for post-sorting in the future and the ability to empty into macro bins for a gravity flow process. It also allows for easy feed-in into the unit by a wine grape elevator. Must pumps. There are a few options for pumping out of the destemmer crusher if that is desired by the winery. One of the most economical options is to use the sump attachment shown here, which is an optional attachment to the bottom of the crusher rollers. As the wine grapes get fed out of the rollers, this sump collects all the must and pushes it into a 3-inch triclover outlet port. You can then hook up a 2-inch or 3-inch impeller pump to this port to pump out of the unit. The sump attachment has a 3-inch triclover port to hook up a 3-inch pump. Or with the reducer, you could also use a 2-inch pump. 2 inches is the smallest size port size to pump must. These are the most economical pumps to use with these units. The VFN 60 is the 2-inch version, and the VFN 80 model is the 3-inch version. Each pump comes with a frequency drive remote control to adjust the speed. The pumps can also come in a cheaper version with a mechanical speed knob if that is desired. The pumps can be used for other purposes such as pumping from macro bins or tanks to the wine press, or you can also use it to transfer and rack wine. The drawbacks of these impeller pumps are they could have issues pumping if you have a very dry must and not too much liquid. The winemaker may have to add back in some juice from where they're pumping to get the must going again if it gets stuck. The other drawback is these pumps are rather harsh on the fruit when pumping must. The impeller can cause shearing of the wine grape skins and seeds, causing unwanted compounds to be exposed in the wine. Option 2 for must pumping would be to use a rotor-style pump or screw pump. This slide here shows a screw pump. The rotor-style pumps look similar and can be seen here. These are the most popular must pumping options out of the destemmer crusher units, as these are very powerful gentle pumps. These pumps are also great for pumping out of fermentation tanks and into the wine press, so they do have a dual purpose for a winery. The feed-in auger shown here will auger feed the wine grapes into a screw or elliptical rotor, which allows for excellent throughput and gentle processing of the wine grapes. The screw pump version works by a revolving screw, which creates a volume displacement in the stator's cavity. This allows for a continuous flow without changing or harming the wine grapes. The rotor version shown here is a rotor-style pump that is also gentle on the must. Inside it has a food-grade plastic lobe. Imagine a football-like shaped lobe structure that uses a compressive force that gently moves the fruit through the system. The third and last main option is the peristaltic pump. Peristaltic pumps are the most gentle pumps in the wine industry, also usually the most expensive option. The transfer of the product is obtained by the action of 2 or 3 rollers on a rubber tube. The rotation of the rollers creates inside the tube an alternative movement of chambers, creating this continuous flow of open and closing, generating a linear flow. The product is treated with the utmost delicacy without crushing, emulsion, or shaking of the wine grapes. Also, the sump attachment, as shown here, can easily be removed. If you remove the sump attachment, this pump also has additional uses in the winery during the year, such as wine transfers and rackings, so it could be used for additional purposes in the winery and not just pumping must. Must pump recap. 2-inch and 3-inch impeller pumps. Economical option, VFN 60 is the 2-inch version and VFN 80 is the 3-inch version. Is the roughest on the fruit, may have issues pumping a dry muss, can also be used for other purposes in the winery, such as transfers and rack-ins. Can come in a mechanical speed option, rotor style or screw auger must pumps. These are the most popular choices for pumping must on the crusher destemmer. Very gentle on the must, great for pumping out of the crusher destemmer and fermentation tanks and into a wine press. Peristaltic pumps, most expensive option on the market, extremely powerful must pumps, can also be used for transferring wine and rack-ins. Also great for pumping out of the destemmer crusher and fermentation tanks and into a wine press. Grape sorting systems. Now we will talk about additional items to add to the crush pad line. For the beginner winery on a tighter budget, many of these items are not a necessity. But with the right destemmer crusher, as we just went over, these additional sorting units can be easily added to the future build out of a proper crush pad. As the winery grows and expands, many of these items can be added. Speed-wise, all these sorting systems will run in the 3 to 9 tons per hour range, which covers a wide range and scale of wineries. We can go faster if required. So from working left to right here, the wine grapes are fed into this hopper by tipping a macro bin into the hopper. The fruit could also be fed with a pitchfork or lugs, which is more labor intensive, but available as an option. The wine grapes are dropped into the shaker feeder table, which will uniformly deliver the fruit onto this belt table. This belt table allows for 2 to 4 people to stand on the sides and pick out any leaves or unwanted materials before entering the destemmer crusher. The wine grapes then fall into the grape elevator shown here. This elevator will lift the fruit to feed the destemmer crusher at a uniform rate. The fruit will then pass through the destemmer. We will bypass the crushing rollers at this stage as we don't want to crack the berries just yet, as we want to have a post-sort without any juice on the sorting table. The whole berries will fall down on a vibration shaker table, which will sieve off any seeds or smaller unwanted material. And additional labor can hand sort out any jacks or additional unwanted berries or material that made it through the destemmer cage. Then we have this additional unit shown here that will crush the grapes after they are post-sorted, and we will fall into our must pump to be pumped in the stainless steel wine tanks, macro bins, or elsewhere. As an additional option, instead of placing the vibrating table at the destemmer unit, where additional labor is required, you could do something like this slide here. This is a similar setup as before, but instead of pre-sorting the wine grapes, we can simply feed into the wine grape elevator and pass through the destemmer. And now we have this automatic grape sorting system table called the Rolltech Mini. This machine will automatically sort the jacks, stems, and leaves that make it through the destemmer. So you get approximately 90 to 95% clean whole berries in your tanks or bins. This is a great option for a winery on a tighter budget where manual labor is sparse with the desire to do additional sorting. The only drawback to this unit is the machine is meant for hand-picked fruit. It can only accept hand-picked fruit, so no machine-harvested fruit with this sorting machine. Since this unit is more automated, it requires much less labor as the machine is doing just about all the work. You only need 1 to 2 people to operate a line like this. As you can see here, the wine grapes fall onto the table with the stems, jacks, and leaves all together. The wine grapes will pass through the holes on the cage and stems. Jacks and leaves get discarded at the end. Sorting system recap. Adds quality to the winemaking process by removing unwanted materials like stems, leaves, and jacks. Pre-sorting belt table systems available to pre-sort leaves and unwanted materials. Post-sorting automatic and manual systems available. Rolltech Mini unit automatically sorts out stems, leaves, and jacks, making it a great option to reduce labor and time sorting. Speed ranges from 3 to 9 tons per hour. Faster speeds available upon request.